Hey there, everybody. Good morning. Just kind of listening to some cool jazz and looking at Scott Scurlock's old treehouse in Olympia, Washington. And Scott was an Evergreen student. And he lived in the woods, as you can see here, and he had built a huge treehouse. Nobody knew he was a bank robber as well. He had majored in theater makeup, and it turned out he was a huge disguise artist. And I used to see him running around with big bags. I thought it was squirrel food up there. It was just wild. He had bathtubs, showers. It was quite the place, and it just kept expanding. It was just very elegant inside. So I just kind of wanted to start the day in a good mood. I'd gone through some weirdness at the Evergreen State College, and just really wanted to kind of chill out. And yet I heard that our good friend Tucker Carlson his house was surrounded. People were ringing his doorbell in the night. And that's what's been happening to me at the Evergreen State College and around town. The person who, who doxed me or whatever, I've sort of doxed myself. I won't call it doxed me, but has also been leaving a lot of kind of weird anti-Semitic sort of stuff on the computer, which has been kind of interesting. There they are upside down. And it's sad. It's someone really young. I think when I was that age, I wasn't even paying attention to adults. I was like in my own world, doing my own thing. And it made me wonder what makes this person who doesn't know me feel it's okay to sort of, to yell and scream at a total stranger. It's very weird. And yes, he keeps putting things on the internet about that I'm Jewish. So Tucker Carlson, I feel for you. It's like I voted and I wanted to back out. I majored in film at the Evergreen State College. This is what I do, I kind of got run out of town here for 20 years. I ended up in New York proofreading. Now I'm in trouble for proofreading because I proofread for Donald Trump. He lived there. You can't win with these people. And they've really ruined government. They've just really destroyed government. That was an FBI agent saying, when we found Scott Scurlock's home, it was a sight to behold. And I remember having to climb up a rope to get to it. You really could barely find the place in the woods. In fact, a few times I went out to see him, I could not find the path or the trees. There really wasn't a path or trees there. It was sort of like you lucked out. Because originally when he built it, it's like the photographs are kind of showing later versions of it when he may have built down a little bit. But in the earlier days, it was like all just way, way up high in the sky, and truly, truly magical beyond belief. It's funny because I took someone up there once who owned a graveyard in town that Jimi Hendrix is buried in. And I thought, these two have to meet each other. They just do. And we went out in the night, and the graveyard owner, it's a place in Renton, the graveyard owner had this, he said, oh, we have to bring something up. And we brought like wine and some kind of special treats. And we went all the way up there, and, we're drinking, I don't know, wine and eating caviar or whatever. And we were swaying up there in the trees, like a big wind came in. And the place was beautiful inside. There were Persian rugs. It was gorgeous beyond belief. And Scott said, no, my friend looked at Scott and said, so why do you live in this treehouse? What are you, a bank robber or something? So that's always been weird to me because, yes, indeed he was. And none of us knew. And what's really weird is that they said he robbed the same bank 23 times. I think it was like a Microsoft bank over in Bellevue or Seattle. And I guess he figured that was where the money was. But they never realized it was him for 23 times because of his disguises. And I do know that at one time I went over there and I was wearing a hat that was given to me by Phil Donahue's son. So I've always wondered if there was a robbery committed in Phil Donahue's old felt Irish green good luck hat. You know, life gets really funny, but you know, it's like when I had the bad experience at Evergreen with the woman, like from Detroit or whatever, not to say anything bad about Detroit, I lived in Chicago, I knew you guys, but this kind of post-Rust Belt apocalyptic coming in with nothing sort of behind and just, I do nothing. This is my office, it's my kingdom, it's not even an office. This is my yoga mat space. You know, that I'm going to like do this, tell you you can never get a job. You know, I called the president's office. I just, you know, and it's funny because she told me I'd never ever call a president's office. So I did, kind of out of defiance, just to say, you know, we know what's up. We know we're paying taxes for a lot of people to sit down here and slurp miso out of their bowls while they're, you know, looking at Sasquatch, you know, through the beautiful trees. And it's not cool. And what was weird was over the years, I've called a few times, mainly because Doc and I used to hang out at the beach. And we used to feel guilty. We'd be like, oh my God, what are we doing? But I had like a little baby. He was a Vietnam vet. And it was sort of the perfect place to be. But every now and then, really weird things would happen down there. And one time we went down and the entire beach was completely chopped up. It was as if diggers had been there all night. It was just weird. And I was like, what's going on? And, you know, the tide couldn't have done this. And then I found a little piece of paper and it had a receipt on it and it was for commercial shell fishing. And the Evergreen Beach is the only place in the area that, I think in the whole Puget Sound area, that is an actual nature preserve. And it's important for a lot of reasons. You kind of need trees over water for little nesting fish, and there really isn't enough of that here. They can get they can die, you know. So this is a really important beach, and it turned out that there was like some new vice president who was like, I don't know, he was wanting to just, you know, gut the place and kind of make cash on the side. So we kind of got to know this really nice woman named Wendy at the president's office. And so when I called and she didn't answer the phone, I was like, wait a minute, you're not Wendy. And the woman said, Wendy? And I said, yes, Wendy. She started to cry. She said, Wendy died. And I'm like, Wendy died? Wendy was young. Wendy was young and had little children. And it, you know, I felt like just the atmosphere at Evergreen is so fake. It's so unreal. And, you know, it's kind of, you know, what people call the left eating itself. And I just felt so sad. I just started like, I wanted to just cry. That Wendy probably died from just the bad vibes out at that horrible place that are being thrown around. You know, and I still don't know why like a 20-year-old's chasing me around town. Like, who cares? And what makes it seem like it's okay? And who's behind him? And I'm sorry, you guys, that one day I filmed and it didn't come out. It just didn't. Like, the settings on the camera had changed. I don't know if the dog did it or what. But, it, you know, I can get it any other day because it's like these people with clipboards chasing me from the homeless encampment. And, you know, that's where he has chased me from. And it's because it's an organized place. no homeless person has REI and clipboards, and they drive in their fancy little Priuses, and they organize these things, and they sure don't want any of us knowing about it. So, you know, here I am. I'm giving you this kind of unpleasant news, and it's not like it's new or anything. In fact, maybe I can tell you one quick kind of story about when the war in Iraq hadn't started yet, but they were talking about starting the war in Iraq. And it was like, okay, they're going to start this war in Iraq. Didn't seem like a good idea, not as far as Democrat or Republican. I did just want to go down to San Francisco, and I had an opportunity to, on a bus, on a big private bus. And it was like, okay, I'll go. And there was a boy that had been living at our house with his father. The father was like an out-of-work school teacher. He'd finally gotten a job somewhere, and the son's mother was homeless and basically had gone crazy somewhere. And the dad said, hey, can you take my son down? You know, I'm like, yeah, the dad was pretty much homeless for a while too. He finally got a job somewhere really far. And I said, sure, I'll take your son down. So, you know, we were on this really nice bus, and there was even like a bed in the back. So the son even had like his own private space, his own bed, everything. And we got down there, although there were people who paid to come along on the journey. And some were fabulous. Some of the people were amazing. And then there were some, though, that were like scary as all heck. That, you know, there was one woman who wore an orange, like a thing you wear on a bicycle or a construction zone, like on the bus the whole time, and just bossed everyone around about everything 24/7. And when we got there, she was like this thing with an armband that marched along the curbs and tried to make everyone march where she wanted them to march in San Francisco, where here I was with like this 13-year-old boy. He had so much energy. It was insane. I remember as soon as we got off the bus, he like ran up all these hills. It was like the hills of San Francisco were nothing for this kid. So then when it came time for the march, you know, he wasn't even worn out. It was like he was just warming up. And, you know, the march was like all these kind of like slow, like, you know, out of, you know, they were all like out of shape people, you know, at this march. There was this one really cool guy, this really cool black guy, and he had like a bicycle with a stuffed Saddam Hussein on the back seat. And I remember he was kind of going up along these side things. And now that I look back on it, I think he must have been conservative and against the war, like as a conservative, because there was like this huge banner that was in front of everyone, like at the front of the march. But what was weird was it didn't really say anything about no war. It was like RFP or some Communist Party thing. And it was like really weird. And there were some school teachers right behind it who weren't that thrilled with it. And, you know, I'm with this 13-year-old guy that's like this like, you know, runner. And so he went like even ahead of them because they were like way slow, holding up their banner, slogging, you know, uphill through the streets of San Francisco. And I'm chasing the 13-year-old because I'm not going to lose a 13-year-old in San Francisco. I mean, wow, that kid really gave me like a run for my money. I'll tell you that. So we were in front of the banner and we were getting screamed at. You cannot be in front of the banner. You're not allowed to be in front of the banner. And then what was weird was the police were there, and the police were saying, it's a public street, the kid can be where the kid wants to be. If the kid wants to be in front of your effing banner, the kid can be. And it was so weird because here was this kid, and he was always sort of like a little bit of the bad boy in school, but super brilliant. I mean, this kid was brilliant. He... actually, the FBI surrounded the school one day, the elementary school one day, when they found there was a computer that was like hacking into the military, and it was this kid, and he was like, you know, in 5th grade. He's kind of, he's been in, and he has a reputation in this town. Everybody's like, whoa, you know, and just like in high school, he did all the lighting jobs and computer jobs, and he's just like the most happening person in the world. So it was really fun going, going on the trip with him. It was weird because the woman in the orange vest was like an elementary school teacher, and she was saying, for 5th grade, it's really good. And she had some little bird that like dipped its beak into like a liquid. And I remember saying to her, that might be cool for your 5th graders, but this guy was like, he was like hacking into the military or whatever at 15. I mean, not 15, in elementary school, Madison Elementary in Olympia, Washington. And I've talked to other parents about this, and they'll just say, yes, it's the most outrageous story ever. And so anyway, and the police were like, no, he's allowed to walk in front of your stupid sign. And the teachers were horrified too. They were like, it's weird. So I've never been like that. I've never sort of felt that I could just suddenly start bossing people on the street, if you know what I'm saying. And it's weird that there's that kid that was, that screams at me. And it's like, wow, I don't even know you, and you're a kid. Like, how are you even recognizing who I am or what I am, or what does any of it even, mean to him? It's just completely strange. So, poor Tucker, he had people ringing his doorbell in the night, and I'm like, where are the cops? Doesn't he pay taxes? Like, what is going on? And then it was weird that I had the cop assume my guilt and just kind of be the lapdog of this little kind of spoiled thing that's, going to chase a matron through the streets of Olympia. Tomorrow is Veterans Day for my daughter, and so we were going through old photographs last night of, all of our relatives that were in all the wars, and boy, they sure wouldn't have been wanting to fight for this little petulant you-know-what. So anyway, everyone take good care and have a great day, and remember, defend free speech. And the students weren't like this back then. Even the baddies, it's like even our baddies, even the bank robber was better than you, dude. Even he knew how to build his own building and, do something besides just run and chase people. As bad as he was, look, he at least was able to build. He built this place pretty much on his own. He had some help definitely from friends in the summer sometimes, because it was really fun to be out there, and there were kind of teepees on the ground in the summer and that kind of thing too. So much love to all. Sorry, I just have to stay in a good mood, because Wendy had died, and I'm not going to let myself go into Heart Attack City over all the wrongs and injustice and all the pork going out to people who are only there to show us that they don't have to do a darn tootin' thing, that it's all in what you know, it's all in who you know, not what you know. What a great thing, Evergreen State College. How wonderful you are. All right, Scott. They said that Scott got his start stealing cherry pies off of trucks when he was a kid, and he never got caught, so yikes. Maybe if somebody would have caught him stealing those pies, he wouldn't have been a bank robber. I know. He said he stole them every day and ate them for breakfast on the way to school every single day. So, wow. Anyway, much love to you all. And Tucker, we need better security for you and everyone, because these are traitors. They're not free speechers. They are traitors. Hang 'em high and send 'em to Gitmo. Love you all. Bye.